Coming at you from the 37th parallel on America's Haunted Highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Welcome to Pixelated Paranormal. I'm your host, Henderson Mann, and with us this week is Sean.
Well, hello.
And Preston.
Why, hello, everybody.
And I just kind of screwed this whole intro up because I had this whole idea about starting out with what we're going to be talking about and blah, 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 but I fucked that all up. So we'll work on that next time.
You could just do it over.
We are a work in progress.
But I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about yet, so... But yeah, so we're here again to talk to you about paranormal stuff. We have a big show here to talk about. Our main topic is what Sean's going to hit on a lot of is sleep paralysis and things that kind of associate with that. I think it's going to be very informative. You're going to hear a lot of anecdotes from us and experiences we've had in this matter. But we do have a few news stories we wanted to hit up first. And one of them that I wanted to bring up is that LA Times had an article about the actress Megan Fox. Now, we all know her from a lot of different movies, but she got a big start in the Transformers, the first two Transformers movies. And she had this interesting story where she was talking about how when she was filming the movie Transformers, I don't remember if it was the first one where they went to Egypt or the second one, but they actually got her and Shia LaBeouf got to actually get a tour of the pyramids, and she was told by a source that worked there that that there was never really a sarcophagus found at the pyramid. They put one there for tourism reasons, so that they have really no idea what the pyramids were for. She also talked about being raised she was raised as a Pentecostal Christian, but she's always had like a touch of the spiritual side. She said that when she was a little girl, she came up to her mom and told her mom, like, matter of factly, she goes, "I'm going to be an actress." Now, a lot of, I want to be an actress. I want to be president, stuff like that. I want to be an astronaut. But she said it was like matter of factly, and she just knew in her heart that she was going to be an actress. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But she says she feels like she's in a good place where she would like to do a series of like Vice or something where she tries to go out and learn about all these different, she's in the whole, the antiquities and the archaeology stuff. She says, "I'm really more intellectually minded. I've always been into alternative history, antiquities, and archaeology, and I've always been really consumed by these deep mysteries that exist on our planet that can't be explained today by science. They eat away at me." And it's kind of interesting to hear that from somebody that every time we see her, she's always put in that light of a sex symbol, right? Everybody thinks of Megan Fox as a pretty hot lady and an actress and stuff, but she kind of seems like she's really she feels like she's in a place where she could actually bring a lot of this stuff to light. Now the problem with this too is, as we know, anytime we've had celebrities that have been interested in this, they get labeled as kooks and stuff like that. We make fun of Dan Aykroyd because he's really out there, and instead of him actually being able to bring something to the table, we kind of make fun of it and make light of his Men in Black story because it's like the most uninteresting Men in Black story there's ever been. But I did like her idea that the pyramids of Giza, was it really, did somebody really tell her that? I mean, or were they just fucking with her at the time? So what do you guys think about that? Would you like to see Megan Fox actually try to go out and do something like this for like Vice or something?
I think that it's not a bad idea when you've got somebody who's an actress or an actor and they're kind of typecasted. They're put into one category. But then if you've got somebody like that who also has a real sheer interest in a subject like paranormal or archaeology or just unexplained mysteries, you could see a whole different side of her. I think that could be really interesting. We might just have our socks blown off by the fact that she could be very intelligent and very well educated in that subject matter.
Yeah. Also, she has toes for thumbs. I'm just going to put that out.
I've got fingers for toes.
So
We've all seen them.
So yeah, I look forward to her new podcast, Tulpas and Toe Thumbs.
Tulpas, toe thumbs, and toe shoes.
But,
I'd listen.
no, essentially though, I mean, we make light of it, but I would be interested in seeing her do something like that. If that's something that she's interested in, I just hope that she wouldn't be labeled as a kook or a crazy person,
Right.
For doing such thing, because we need people like that would be interested in getting these stories out. So, and I just thought that was an interesting story, and it's something that, I read the interview, and I'm telling you, she sounds way more intelligent than what she's probably been given credit for.
Right.
So, so I'm kind of excited to see what could come of this.
And actually, there have been many reports, so maybe what she heard about there not being a sarcophagus in the pyramids is correct. Christopher Dunn, I can't remember the name of the book that he wrote. It was called like the Giza Power Plant or like the Pyramid Machine. And he's an actual machinist, and he wrote a whole book about his different theories on how the pyramid's an actual machine, like it has some type of purpose. And he did a lot of research showing that there's never been any given pyramid in Egypt that even like the ones that we've discovered, let's say in the last 40 years, that nobody been buried in the sand. They cracked that bitch open, and not one of them had a sarcophagus in it. And our whole entire time we've been taught growing up as kids that these were just burial chambers or these were for the pharaohs, but we haven't found one in the last 40, 50, 60 years that's actually had a body in it. So she might not be all that crazy.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, Preston, you had an interesting story that you just kind of hit on, and I liked it had a funny little title, so I wanted to.
Yeah, let's get on to Grannybal Lecter. This actually happened last year, but it's back in the news because they haven't been doing anything with it. Basically, what had happened: a Russian lady, Tamara Samasova, who is 68, was arrested last year, actually August 5th, for 11 murders, and one of them included her husband, her flatmate, and then one of her tenants. And then the police actually didn't end up releasing any other details because it was a murder investigation. It was ongoing. But basically, she ended up killing up to 11 people and left details in a gruesome diary of eating her victims.
Whew.
Yeah. And the reason why she was caught was there was a CCTV camera near her home that was just basically kind of set up to watch the area. And it caught her dumping body parts out of a plastic bag. And then when detectives went to go figure out who it was, they traced it back to her. Went to her apartment, found blood all over the bathroom, found a hacksaw, and found little bits and pieces of flesh, and found a diary that had rituals, like satanic rituals, cult rituals in it. And let me get to where. Man, I wrote so many notes on this. This is embarrassing. Hold on. We're going to get to it. Basically, 12 years ago, a headless man who was missing, his head, arms, and one leg was found on the same street as her flatmate was found earlier this year. And they actually ended up finding his business card stained with blood in her apartment. And this is the one piece of the diary that police released. It said, "I killed my tenant Bodaya. I cut him into pieces in the bathroom with a knife, put the pieces of his body into a plastic bag, and threw him away in the different parts of the Funisky district." Her husband went missing in 2005, but police never made a connection with her as being the perpetrator of the crime. And it is found that every single victim was missing a section of their lung and various body parts, which she described as eating in her diary. When she ended up being arrested, she told the judge that there was no way that I could live with this any longer, and was a part of a chapter in my life that needed to be closed. The judge asked, "Well, what am I to do with you?" And she replied, "Do what you want. After all, I am guilty, and I deserve punishment." And that was the last that we heard of her. The police are still investigating it. She's still rotting away in prison. And that, my friends, is the tale of Grannybal Lecter.
That was a tasty story.
This bitch killed 11 people. Like, this old lady, this, like, crazy old lady just chopping them up and eating them away.
She's like, yeah, bitch, I did it. What's up? What we gonna do about it? Punish me?
I got a hacksaw in my bathroom, and I'm chopping off heads left and right.
Smacking
you know what,
them,
Judge? Nobody
them.
complained about the taste of the stew. Everybody loved my stew.
Yeah. And actually, it was said that during the first time in the arraignment or one of the hearings, that she was more embarrassed the fact that the press was there, because then her neighbors were going to find out about all the bad shit that she did. Another entry in her journal said that on a daily basis, I slept badly, drank too much coffee, and I take medicines, and I do not eat. What am I to do?
Eat a man.
There you go.
Eat a man, eat a man, eat a man.
Whoa,
I was kind of hoping I
she
could actually
comes.
find the rest of the journal entries, but they said because of the murder investigation that they weren't going to release anything else until it was completed. So I was a little disappointed. Like, I want to read the journal entry of when she chopped her husband up, and like, that motherfucker didn't take out the trash, so what did I do? I hacksaw his head off and ate a toe.
So, I came across this story earlier this week about a mummified alien found in Russia. And according to the story, which is another Tamara, patata.
We're going to go with Tamara. I like the way Tamara sounds.
You know, all these Tamaras are crazy.
Not today, Tamara.
Basically, this woman in Russia was declared mentally ill and was sent to a psychiatric institute. She claimed that she had been hearing voices, which led her to a body that was found alive. So she found this alien body, or not a body, it was alive, and she took it back home, and she was taking care of it for a few days. But word kind of spread that this woman had found a body, or a child. And they finally reached the local authorities, and they came and basically said that she was mentally ill, and they took the old lady to a psychiatric hospital, and she was screaming the whole time about she had a baby in need of care, and then, like, the baby basically died. And then one of the neighbors, Vladimir Nerdatov, entered this woman's home and then took the body. Now, I don't know why he took the body. And they ended up finding the mummified corpse later on when police came to this man's house, because there was suspicion of him keeping stolen electrical cables in his house. And they stumbled on the preserved alien corpse, and they have some pictures of what this thing supposedly looked like. There was autopsies done on it. Now, the first autopsy came back and said it didn't match any DNA. So in other words, it wasn't a human baby. But they said that's all bunk, and that they did other tests on it. And they said it was actually a human fetus, female fetus, and I guess I don't know if somebody had an abortion and just left the abortion around, and this woman found it and was trying to take care of it as a child or what. But and then apparently the woman got sent to the mental institution. I mean, I guess if you walked in and she's holding the fetus, you're probably gonna take that woman to a mental institution if she's caring for it like a child. So I don't know what happened. And apparently she died in 1999 from an automobile accident as she attempted to escape from the hospital. So this woman escaped from a mental hospital in 99 and then died in an auto accident. So basically they have a few pictures of supposedly of this. Actually, they do have a few pictures of it. But it's just it's an interesting story. DNA test body found on the piece of cloth in which the tiny corpse was wrapped in proved it was a human female fetus born prematurely with severe deformities. And if you look at the head of this thing, it looks like, I don't know, it's got like it almost looks like it's wearing one of those old like medieval helmets from like Skyrim or something. So it just looks awful. But yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting story. Did anybody else have any stories?
Yeah, I've got more news from Europe.
Okay.
And the UK and that area. In Scotland, in Glasgow, back on June 8th, they just announced that a shopping centre has reached out to paranormal investigators because they believe they have a ghost. They have a phantom. It says, at the Silverburn Shopping Centre, people have reported seeing a apparition of a woman wearing black period-style clothing haunting different shops. There was an anonymous shopper who said, we were waiting on our friend coming out of one of the shops when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dark figure down the corridor, almost hovering. It was terrifying. And then one of the security guards has come forward and said that during one of his shifts, he had just finished his shift and was leaving the center bathroom when all of a sudden he felt a sudden chill. I didn't think much of it, he said, but as I looked up, I saw this shadowy figure disappear down the hall. This was no way that there was a human being inside of the mall. I was by myself. So they've recently reached out to the Glasgow Paranormal Investigation team to come in and kind of figure out what's going on. It says that it was built on land that didn't have any buildings that were on it before, and it opened in 2007. So they don't really, they've kind of debunked the idea that, maybe it was just a haunted house or burial ground or something like that. Could have been the elves.
Interesting, huh? So I wonder, what do you think something like that could be? Just because there was never a house or anything there doesn't mean that there wasn't something there before. There could have been could you imagine it being like a Native American camp back in the day, or something like that, or the tribal folks and stuff? Because could you imagine being I guess you could imagine being a ghost, being a Native American ghost, and walking around a shopping mall, being like, "They take our land for this,"
Right.
I could have opened up a casino here. Now it's a shopping mall. Screw these
or
people.
They're thinking, where am I? Where is this lustrous place?
I was actually, when I was looking up some articles today about our astral spiders that we're going to talk about later on, one of the articles had talked about how over in Belgium or in Norway, when they talk about like mountain trolls, that certain companies, before they actually start building a project, like let's say they're building a mall or building whatever it is, that they actually have somebody come in and get permission from the spirits in the area, because they believe that if they start building this without getting the permission from the mountain trolls or whatever spirits living in that area, that spirit's going to cause them problems. And so when I had said earlier about elves, the Irish folklore and Scottish folklore is just riddled with tales about, these tall beings with silvery blonde hair. And, as when we think of elves, we think of Lord of the Rings and actual, beings, whereas the folklore describes them as being like spiritual beings or just spirits. And, maybe even if something wasn't on that land before, that maybe that area is inhabited by natural spirits, or what do they call it? Elementals. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're running into. You have these elemental spirit or these elf spirits that are still there, and some motherfucker didn't ask permission to build that mall, and now they're pissed.
Yeah, and that also makes me think of I just listened to Mysterious Universe, and they came back, or Aaron was coming back and telling his stories about how he went to Dubai and stuff in the desert, and talked about the jinn and how prevalent that is in their culture over there in the Middle East. So that was a pretty interesting listen. Yeah, but that's pretty cool. So anybody got anything else?
I got that really quick black hole story about the black holes being a three-dimensional hologram. Scientists have done this new study to where they've been trying to measure black holes to figure out what happens to objects that actually get sucked into the black hole. there's not a real way to measure it because we can't see the light. It gets lost on the event horizon. And so through studies, they have shown that a black hole theoretically is a two-dimensional space in a three-dimensional universe, thus theoretically being a hologram. And that if it's a flat two-dimensional area, then objects don't get sucked into it. They just stay on the outer rim and the event horizon until they are pulled apart. So the article is actual clickbait. I thought we were going to get into this article about how, we're living in the Matrix and it's all bullshit and it's just a big hologram, and no, it's just clickbait. I was upset.
The only other story I came across, I might as well read it since I read the other two that I said I wasn't going to read. So,
such a rebel.
There's an island in the Caribbean called Montserrat, and apparently they're saying people lived on this island and they all left about I think they said like 500 years ago, but they found some few artifacts and stuff like that. However, I guess some hikers recently were walking around and they found this stone that had all these geometric shapes carved into it, and also had a couple of humanoid type things in the rock. One of them, I don't know. When I look at it, the best way to describe it is it almost looks like an X-wing or something, because it's got like a triangle, like a I don't know, like an egg shape in the middle, but it also has like off to the side, it has like almost like you'd say like not X-wing, I'm sorry, the TIE fighter. It almost looks like a TIE fighter, and except at the top of the TIE fighter is like a little smiley face. It almost to me looks like maybe it tried to depict an angel of some sort, because it just kind of looks like that. Our old like angels pictures really just look, I don't know. The pictures are on the website and they'll be linked to in the story. And the other one is this guy that looks like he's like, I don't know, like just like tough and strong. He looks like he's flexing. I don't. And also there's this other symbol that kind of looks like a an hourglass. So they said that apparently these things are back from like 1500 years ago. So, and no one knows where they came from. They don't know what they said the people left Montserrat, a long time ago. And they said that based on the archaeological evidence, experts believe the ancient people inhabited this island between 2,500 and 4,000 years ago. And so that's a long time. Just think about living on a little island in the Caribbean. I don't know how big the island is, but they do have some of the pictures, and it's just kind of neat that, there's something new that's kind of popped up. And the rock is pretty good size. It's not like a little rock that they could have moved. I mean, it's basically inside of a cliff. So I don't know what they were trying to depict in the picture, but it just, somebody said that one picture looks like a bat. I think it looks more like an angel of some sort. So maybe they were visited by Atlanteans or something, because I don't know where the Caribbean would be, as opposed to Atlantis. But, we do hear the Atlantis myth of those people left Atlantis when it was destroyed and found other places to live. So maybe, maybe they were treated as gods or angels here. So
that's weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll link to that story in the show notes. But at this point, I think we're going to let Sean take over and run this thing.
There we go. I kind of want to give a quick disclaimer on this stuff we're going to talk about. And all I want to do is basically say, as cockamamie as it could sound, just try to have an open mind when you listen to stories like this. Do a little research on your own and find that a lot of people suffer from this phenomenon that we're going to be talking about. So with that being said, I guess I'd say this is something that's kind of near and terrifyingly dear to my heart, as though I've experienced a lot of this growing up, and it is sleep paralysis. For anybody who doesn't know what sleep paralysis, or some people call it mid-sleep paralysis, it's basically the phenomenon. It can be looked at two different ways. There's two different ways you can experience this. Number one, you're awake, you're trying to fall asleep, and all of a sudden your entire body locks up. You can't move anything, maybe your eyes. That's about it. And all of a sudden you're frozen. You can still hear and see everything around you, but you can't move a muscle. The other instance is the opposite of this. You're awakened suddenly out of a deep sleep, and to which you can't move. just as I mentioned before, you can't move. You can sometimes barely breathe, it feels like, but your senses are maybe hyper real. You can hear every little creak and crack. You can see what's going on. You can sense everything. You just can't react to it. So I'll start off with kind of an experience I had a few years ago, probably back in 2013, 2014, before we moved to Wichita. We lived in a really nice little rental house. And I won't say exactly where it was out of respect to the landlords, but it was a pretty nice little rental house. And during that time, it was pretty common for my wife to go away out of town, out of state for work. I think during this story, she was in Florida, if I remember right. So basically, the first morning she had left, I had awoken abruptly because I thought I heard her walk in the house, shut the door, and then walk around the house rummaging for something, like she was looking, I don't know, maybe something she had left, a shirt or something that she was supposed to take with her. But the weird thing was, as I laid there and tried to fall back asleep, I realized, holy crap, she's in Florida. She touched down in Florida probably like an hour ago. There's no way in hell she's back home, because she is not supposed to be back for 2 more days. So what kind of freaked me out was the idea that, holy shit, somebody's in my house. And I thought, okay, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's just the landlord. Maybe the landlord popped over for something, didn't realize I was going to be home, because it was common for them to come in and change the filters in the air conditioner or whatever. I heard whatever it was walking around in the kitchen on the hardwood floor. I could hear the floor creaking and popping, and just kind of looking around. And in this bedroom, we had 2 doors. One door into the bedroom off the kitchen, and then a perpendicular door on the wall, another door on the perpendicular wall that led to the bathroom. I always slept with the doors shut because we had off and on cats that, we'd have as pets, and I didn't like them sleeping in the bedroom because typically they would,
annoy the shit out of
run
you.
amok. So anyway, back to the story. Yeah, that too. So I had the door to the bedroom and the bathroom both closed. I slept with both doors closed. So I heard the door to the bedroom open up, and I could hear somebody walking across the carpet into our bedroom. And what was weird is I was laying there in my bed facing the wall. I was laying on my left side. I could hear the footsteps in the kitchen, like I said before, making their way into the bedroom. The way I was laying meant the door to the kitchen was behind me. The door to the bathroom was going to be at my feet. I heard the handle of the door from the kitchen jiggle a bit and then softly turn down real slow. We're talking like horror movie style, like ee, and then you hear the handle click. So when the door opened, it then closed behind itself, and I hear the latch again, and then muffled footsteps across the carpet. They kind of moved towards the foot of the bed and into the bathroom. It opened up the door to the bathroom, walked around, rummaging through the bathroom, and then back into the bedroom. The door to the bathroom never shut. That was what was kind of strange. The footsteps made their way around the bed, and all of a sudden, like I said before, you can see when this kind of crap happens, I could see the silhouette of a man or a thing standing in front of me, between the wall and myself. What was weird is that this thing looked to have the shape of a person, but it wasn't really clear. It wasn't really sharp. It looked more like a smudge or almost like static from a TV. It was really strange. There was kind of a soft buzz that came along with the person, the thing that was in there. It didn't really seem to notice me or really be concerned that I was laying there. It was just kind of looking around the room, looking for something or just kind of analyzing what was going on. Now, we didn't have any guns, any baseball bats like that, but what we did have in the bedroom was this sword that I'd bought at the flea market. And the whole time I'm looking at this thing standing there, I'm thinking, number one, why the hell can't I freaking move? This is terrifying. This thing is in my house. I can't do a damn thing about it. Number two, dear God, don't let it see the sword that is basically standing right in front of. It looks directly at the sword for a moment, picks it up, slowly slides the sword out of the sheath, looks at it, and then it freaking looks down at me. The damn thing looked right down at me. It slid the sword back into the sheath, placed it back where it was laying, and then I watched it walk as far as I could see before it left my vision. I heard the footsteps go to the foot of the bed, around the bed, and then the footsteps stop right behind me. And I swear to you, on everything I can swear on, I feel the weight of something get into the bed behind me. I can hear it moving across the blankets. And then all of a sudden I can feel, it's not warm, it's not cold, it's just there. I can feel a body laying behind me. I feel an arm reach across my chest and tighten around me like it's spooning me, basically. And what's scary about the sensation is, what's scary is you're trying your damnedest when these things happen to scream, to just make a peep, and all you can do is barely make a grunt or a gurgle. So in my brain is just screaming. My eyes are watering, and in my head I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. I'm about to die. I can't move. I must be paralyzed. God knows what happened. This thing is getting ready to kill me. I was so freaking scared. I literally passed out. The last thing I remember is kind of feeling like my eyes rolling in the back of my head and then blackness. So after that, I woke back up. And what was strange is I remember thinking, my God, that was the most, messed up dream I've ever had. It was so terrifying. I can't explain what happened. So I sit up, put my glasses on, and the freaking bathroom door is still open. And the door was a heavy enough door, it wouldn't have just popped open from, the foundation settling or whatever. You had to physically turn the handle almost all the way down to unlatch it. So that kind of made me think, what the hell was this? I can say I dreamt the whole thing, but why the hell was the bathroom door open?
Wow, that's an interesting story.
It completely freaked me the hell out. And that's just,
all he wanted to do was spoon
one
you,
of
Sean.
many, many times.
The TV static just wanted to spoon.
I wanted to be the big spoon. That was the problem. I had it laid in front of me. So, yeah, that was one of my experiences. Preston, what do you have to say? What do you have to tell us about?
So this is going to be kind of a semi-long story because I kind of got to set it up a little bit. So about halfway through growing up, originally my parents, the house that we lived in was kind of like a 2-story barn style house. So basically it looked like a giant barn. And for the first part of growing up, I lived upstairs, and I had a couple weird sleep paralysis stories kind of here and there, like things would happen. And then as a teenager, I moved down to the basement because Dad finally got off his lazy butt and started working on the basement and made like a bedroom downstairs. And Dad had this really bad habit of not completing projects. So if he started something, it would take him like 20 years to get it done. And when I graduated high school, my grandmother was like, well, when are you moving out? I'm like, Grandma, I don't know. And she's like, well, she was kind of one of those old people that when she bought furniture, like you never sat in it because she would just wrap it in plastic, and you were just supposed to kind of walk into the family room and just kind of look at the furniture. So she had this really cool kick-ass lime green couch, like with this paisley flower design on it from the 60s. And so I kind of like the room in the basement was probably maybe 8 feet wide, but it was probably like 40 feet long. Like it was like just kind of odd shaped room. I don't know why Dad built it like that, but it was big enough that I could fit the couch in there and have like a little man corner on one side and then have the bed on the other. And, so I'm sitting there one day playing the PlayStation 2. So this is how far back this goes. Like when PlayStation 2 first came out, I was playing Final Fantasy X, I believe. And there's just this loud, like, pop noise, like this explosion, and there's like this red shit coming out of the ceiling, and there's like this, like, goopy crap, like, going down my face. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And Mom, we didn't have a garbage disposal, so she was making tostadas for like a couple nights in a row, and she had dumped all the grease and other shit just down the sink, and then essentially had clogged it up. And so that explosion was due to the fact that the pipe was full of shit. So I had, like 4-day-old.
Or something like that. I was like, oh my God, he's having a sleep paralysis moment.
No, so I basically, I woke up to,
No, it's fucking pasta sauce.
Is everybody there? Like, that was kind of weird. Like,
Sean was having an issue there.
Okay, so yeah, basically I had just like ketchup and tostada salsa and like gross rotted pig fat going down my face, and so I ended up moving everything out of that corner of the room because Dad's like, oh, I gotta fix this hole in the ceiling now. And so imagine like when you're looking up, there's like this weird jagged hole in the ceiling, and you can see like the framework, the upstairs, you can see all the piping and everything. And, fast forward like a year later, I woke up in the middle of the night. I honestly can't tell you what time it is, but it probably would have been anywhere between like 2 and 4 a.m. because I am a night owl. and I don't think I had been asleep very long, but I woke up and I couldn't move. I'm just like, I started freaking out because I'm like, what the fuck can I move? Like, what's going on? And there was like this weird, almost like humming noise, like a vibration noise filling up the whole entire room. And the only thing I could see was that corner of the room to where the hole in the ceiling was. And it was just like, it was just pitch black. Like, you couldn't make out any details. Like, you couldn't see the closet door. But all of a sudden, this hand started to move out of the shadows, and it was like moving very, very slowly. And I always tell Sean that the only way that I can give you visualization so that you can figure out like what I saw was, you remember the movie Stephen King's It? And when they're down in the sewers and they shoot the clown in the head with the silver nugget, and he floats up in the air and he's got all the light coming out, and then he goes down to that sewer pipe and the kids are like, "We think we killed it." And they look down and that giant fucking hand with the claws and the big giant fingernails, and I'm like, the 7-foot fingers, whatever it was, grabs that kid by the arm. That's basically how I remember this hand, like this giant fucking fingernail thing, and it's just slowly coming out of the ceiling. And I remember thinking, like, please don't have wings, please don't have wings. Like, oh my god, there's like a fucking demon coming out of this. Like, what the fuck's going on? And it's like all of a sudden it realized, like, oh shit, this guy's awake. Like, it fucking sees this. And then it slowly starts to pull the hand back up into the shadows, like really, 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 really slow. And then it looked like it disappeared for a second. I'm like, why can't I move? Why can't I move? And then all of a sudden the hand just like, whoop, just drops back down really, really quick, pushes itself up and is like, hello, and like waves at me, and then whoop, back up. God. And as soon as it pulled itself back up, that whole corner of the room that had been pitch black, that shadow had disappeared. And then all of a sudden I could see like up into the hole in the wall where the hole had been. Like, I could see all those details of the pipes, all that I could see again. And then as soon as it was gone, it's like I could move. I pulled up in bed. I'm like, I can't fucking go back to sleep for the rest of the night. So that is my sleep paralysis / demon fucking Stephen King hand coming out of the ceiling story.
Nope. I'd have noped the fuck out of that basement. I don't able to sleep. But then again, your brain rationalizes the shit during the daylight, so we start to believe that we don't see what we're seeing.
Right.
And I honestly, every sleep paralysis story you hear ends with, and then I went back to sleep.
Yeah, there's several. The only time I've ever gone back to sleep is when I've been so fucking scared that I just pass right the fuck out. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. And then bam, I passed out. So.
Well, with sleep paralysis, kind of like what Rob just said, with the idea you're trying to rationalize what you had saw, what you've seen. Scientists and doctors are trying to explain sleep paralysis in a more scientific way, because you can't deny it happens to people. Like, there's clear evidence or studies showing that yes, it does happen. But what they're trying to do is say that basically, when you're entering REM sleep, your body, I believe, does what they call muscle atonia. I probably butchered that, but it's basically when you're having a dream, you're being chased through the forest by a dinosaur, or you're climbing a building, or you're fighting King Kong. Your body releases this signal to your brain releases a signal to your muscles, telling your muscles to basically just freeze, don't move. That way, when you're asleep next to somebody and you're fighting King Kong, you're not just boxing the shit out of the person you're sleeping next to. Your body's basically paralyzed. So when you're in your REM sleep, it's the deepest part of the sleep, is where you have your vivid dreams. If something happens and there's some kind of stimuli that all of a sudden wakes you up, or if just by default you mistakenly wake up, they argue that your body is still asleep because the signal from your brain is still telling your body, okay, don't move, you're still in a deep sleep. But your brain, contradictory, your brain wakes up and all of a sudden you can see, smell, hear what's going on. What's that, Preston?
There was also a recent study done, and I don't agree with it, that they say that when you wake up in this state, you're kind of in between the hypnagogic REM state.
Right.
And that the reason why we see shadow people or whatever it is that we're seeing is because our brain is trying to map out like a self-projection of ourselves. And so that the shadow people really aren't there is because your brain doesn't realize that you're awake. And so it's projecting the dream into the waking world, it's projecting it into the room. And that shadow person or whatever it is that you see, in their study that they did, is technically just a mind map of yourself. if that's the case, then why do we have reports of people seeing shadow people that are 2 feet tall when they're not? Or, in my case, a giant fucking demon hand coming out of the ceiling.
Right. Right. And sometimes they say part of the problem is you've woken up out of that deep sleep. So all around you, the dream is still going on in a way because you're having those hypnagogic hallucinations. And that's why a lot of people claim that they were abducted by aliens. They say, I'm laying there in bed and all of a sudden I can't move, I'm frozen. And then I see these little blue men or green men walk through the wall and they pick me up and they touch me and they poke me and they prod me. And what they're saying is that could very well be just that you are experiencing sleep paralysis, ergo you can't move, and your brain's going through this weird kind of defrag mode where it's just popping out random colors and flashes and everything.
Interesting. And I've heard that, I've also heard the thing about, basically it's just your brain also is not awake, but your body, your mind's awake, but your brain has not awoken, kind of thing too. So the reason why you're not able to move or anything is because your brain is awake, but nothing else is. So, that could be another explanation, but it's just it's amazing that this stuff happens and we don't know what it is and why is it always terrorizing, what, if it's
right.
Maybe it's not as like we think it is. I mean, it could be something more sinister, but it never happens when you're like, oh, there's a nice sexy lady standing in front of the bed and she's going to climb in the bed with me. It's always like, oh.
Right.
Oh. Nope. I got a story that's pretty close to that. She wasn't exactly sexy, but there was one time that I encountered something that wasn't scary. So
let me interject here real quick. The next thing I want to mention is this famous painting called The Nightmare. It was a painting that was done back in 1781 by the Anglo-Swiss artist Henry. I'm going to butcher this again. Fuseli. And the picture, if you don't know what it is, as soon as you see it on Google, you'll recognize it probably instantly. It's a woman laying on her back, kind of in a weird, folded over backward state, like she's half asleep, half awake. There is a horse peering around a curtain, and then a troll or a goblin sitting on her chest. And so what they're saying is this is a depiction of an incubus and also a nightmare, not to be confused with mare meaning horse, just the idea of, an actual nightmare, bad dream. But basically this is kind of a depiction of what they were experiencing back in the late 1700s with this sleep paralysis. People waking up saying, oh my God, there was something on my chest. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was going to try to smother me. I could see something in the corner of my eye watching me. And so then you get into the whole idea of, why can't these be sexy dreams? Well, a lot of times people argue that sleep paralysis through history has been actually, people being visited by succubuses and incubuses and terrorizing people in that way. So that kind of relates to what Preston was saying, is sometimes the situation could be a little sexy in a way. So with the thing that sits on your chest, if you wake up and you feel like you have a monster in your chest, that's called old hag syndrome, which a lot of people have accounts of an old woman in the room sitting on your chest or a creature sitting on your chest. So a lot of times when you have this sleep paralysis, you'll see things like we mentioned earlier, shadow people, incubuses, old hags, aliens,
giant
and other
fucking demon hands coming out of the ceiling.
Giant Stephen King it hands. Stuff like that. So I guess, Rob, is that a good point for you to jump in?
Yeah, so I've told this story quite a few times. Anybody who's known me has probably heard this story, especially because I know, and I'm pretty sure it's one of Sean's favorite stories about me.
Yeah.
It's probably what's on here. But I had gotten divorced back in 2005, and I had moved into my first shitty apartment by myself, and this had been the first time I'd ever been alone, and since I was ever. So I wake up. And I'm laying in bed, and I realize I can't move, and I look around, and I can look up and see where my TV and stuff sits on the dresser, and all of a sudden my eyes look forward, and I realize that there's this thing sitting on top of my chest, and it kind of sits up, and it has a large, it looks almost like a scalpel or maybe a knife, and it's been standing over me, and it gets up and it looks at me, is standing on my chest and looks at me like, oh, again, the whole, this thing's awake. This person has woken up. And so it kind of hopped off me, dropped down to the floor, and I watched it with my eyes kind of back up against the closet door. Now, the closet door was closed, and the best way I can describe it is everybody has seen, like, green screens, right? So basically, imagine that there's a tent against my closet door made out of a green screen. But being projected on this tent instead of the green screen, you're seeing like the movie. So you're seeing like my closet door and everything. This thing steps back against the closet door and it like reaches down and like, it's almost like it's pulling up a flap of reality. Like, that's the best way to describe it. It's like, looks like it's pulling up a tent flap, but as it's pulling up the tent flap, it's like disappearing behind it, like it's zipping up reality around itself. And it steps back and it just starts zipping up reality around it. And then as soon as it's gone, I pop out of whatever it is. I look around the room. Everything looks exactly the same. I go back to sleep thinking, oh, that was just a crazy dream. Well, I get up in the morning and I get up and I take my shirt off and I get in the shower and I'm sitting in the shower. I was like, damn, my chest burns. And this is the first time I paid attention. I look down. There is a slice from my sternum all the way down to the top of my stomach.
Oh,
like
shit.
A big gash.
I never heard that part of the story.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't like a huge gash. It was just like, it looked like something had taken like a scalpel and just run it down the front of my chest. Now, what's weird about this, is that I don't have fingernails. So there's no way I did this to myself. So to this day, I don't know what it was. But yeah, there was just a nice straight cut. Like, if somebody had scratched you with a nail or a bit of a scalpel or something. And all the way down my chest, and it burned. It burned when the water hit it from the shower.
The hell with that noise.
So,
fuck that, I'm out.
Yep.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Well, I had a kind of a painful experience too, and I'll make this one kind of quick. Basically, I was having a dream, and the dream's not scary, although it's odd. In the dream, I'm running through our old hometown, and I'm chasing down somebody who's sailing a yacht down the main street, down Central Street. And they're sailing a yacht down the concrete, and the street's getting all messed up, just, falling apart. Huge crater behind it. And in the dream, I'm trying to get to the boat. Because on the boat, I know there's a bomb on the boat. So now basically I'm like, Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. There's a bomb on the boat. And I gotta get to the boat.
If the boat gets below 55 miles an hour, it'll explode.
And if it goes too over, it's gonna get pulled over by the police. So, and I remember, I finally get to the boat, and I'm crawling across the yacht, and I'm trying to find this bomb, and these red lights are going off, and right as I'm about to kick open this door, I wake up. And when I wake up, it feels like something is in my ear. It feels like somebody is shoving a hot steak or a finger into my ear. And it's the loudest, most fucked up noise.
The devil's giving you a wet willy.
Yeah, it was the devil's wet willy. It was just this really loud, whirling, almost a siren noise, but it was just in my one ear. And it's getting louder and louder and louder, and I'm laying on my back. One leg is my right foot is under my left knee, kind of in a figure 4. My left hand is on my chest, and my right hand is behind my head. And I'm frozen, just stiff. Again, you can't move. All you can do is move your eyes, and I'm barely breathing. But the noise is so loud in my ear when I wake up, it's almost to the point where I can hear bits of my ear cracking, and I'm thinking, oh my god, what's going on? Am I having a stroke? Am I having an aneurysm? And it gets to the point where it's so loud, I'm literally making peace with myself, thinking, okay, well, it's been a pretty good run. I've done some things I wish I could undo, but all in all, it's been a pretty good go. So I think it's about time for me to just get ready. I thought, again, I was going to freaking die because it hurts so bad. And right before I'm about to pass out, all of a sudden, I just go real loud, and all of a sudden, it felt like I broke my damn arm and my leg. I can finally move, but I swear every bone was crack, pop, snap. And then slowly the siren goes away, and it just fades back to, at that time I was sleeping with the radio on, so at that point I could finally hear the music slowly kind of fade back in. But it was just, I felt like somebody was sitting there with their finger in my ear. And that goes back to another concept of nightmares. Demons, what causes a nightmare is a demon is in your room, a monster, whatever, and they stick their finger into your ear, and then they're basically imagining some kind of creepy, messed up crap, and they're projecting that into your thoughts, and that's why people have nightmares. And it was really funny because that was actually depicted on an episode of All Real Monsters on Nickelodeon, for anybody keeping track.
So... what's funny, though, is you're sitting there and the demon's sticking his finger in your ear, and you're like, demon, stop. He goes, that's not my finger.
Boo.
Boo.
Boo hiss. Well,
Look,
the things that have been in Sean's ear.
Yeah. Oh, man,
we got to get some jokes in here because we don't want people to be terrified,
Yeah.
Oh, what was this nice podcast before I go to bed? Oh, they're talking about Megan Fox. Oh, my God.
It starts off real good, and then it gets real not sexy. Do either of you guys have any other accounts you want to go? I've got one more I'll throw in at the end, but if anybody else has
I'll do
one.
kind of my, it wasn't like a sexy encounter, but it wasn't a scary encounter.
It was Megan Fox's toe thumb.
Yeah, no, so a couple years ago, my brother and I, so we started a paranormal kind of investigation group, and it's called The Lost Cane, and we've been going to a couple cemeteries. So kind of the rule of thumb is when you go to the cemeteries, before you close out the session, like you should let everybody, in spirit form who's there, let them know, like, listen, it's not cool to follow us home. If you're negative or you're in any way, like if there's any negative entities, demons, anything like that, you're not allowed to communicate with us. Like, we only want the pure white energy to communicate. And
That's racist, but that's your business.
Right. So I just kind of got in the habit of like closing out with this prayer, and I was kind of going through some shit with my marriage at the time, and so I was kind of just like, what, fuck this, I just want to get out of here, I'm done. And I was we've been going like 4 or 5 nights in a row, so probably about like the 5th night, I get back to the house, which I lived with at the time with my ex-wife. And we had the bed facing or kind of butted up right against the doorway. So like as soon as you walked into the doorway, the bed was right there. And then when you were sleeping, if you were sleeping on your back, you would actually you would see the back wall where there was a couple windows, and then there was a doorway to the bathroom. So at nighttime, the window in the bathroom would let enough light in that you could kind of make out like where the dresser and everything was. And all that scary shit happened when I was a kid to now I think I have a better understanding of it. So when this this sleep paralysis and all that shit happens, I don't get as freaked out. So that loud buzzing noise started to happen again, and I woke up, and that whole side of the room was just like pitch black. So I couldn't see the dresser, couldn't see the TV, and I'm like, fuck, I can't move. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And all of a sudden, the shadow, like all that black mass, just kind of pulls itself together, and kind of at the edge of the bed is this nice 4-foot tall, feminine, curvy looking form, like, whatever this was, this bitch has some nice ghost ass going on. And she's just chilling at the edge of the bed looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm just like in the back of my mind like, wait, what's all the shit that I read that they can read your thoughts? So I'm like, hi, my name's Preston. What's your name? What do you want? Are you trying to communicate with me? And I'm like, just, thinking all these things, and next thing you know, the fucking wiener dog, it's like, rah, 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 and goes ape shit, comes into the room, and all of a sudden you just see it go, and suck itself back into the wall and disappear. And as soon as that happens, I bolt up out of the bed, I can move again, and the ex-wife wakes up. She's like, what's the dog barking at? What's going on? Is the dog barking at the cat? I'm like, no, you fucking retard, the cat's on the pillow next to your head. And she's like, what was it? I'm like, don't worry about it. And I throw the dog into the crate, and I'm just like, I'm pissed, and I roll over, and I'm like, I want to go back to sleep now. That's the end of the story.
So, one of the things I always thought was interesting about sleep paralysis, though, is the amount of people think that it's somehow tied to alien abduction and the such. And what makes me think about this too is sometimes I wonder about the alien abduction stuff myself. Now, I'm not saying that I've been abducted or anything, but when they have a lot of the things online that talk about alien abductions, I do have a lot of them in common. One of the main ones is bleeding from the nose. I used to have nosebleeds a lot as a child, like way more than anybody really should. And just those kind of dreams, like I was being taken or something. But also it seems to go around by parental lines as well. So what I think is interesting about this is my mom tells a story about when she was really young, that she remembers laying there and she could feel herself being levitated up from the bed, and they had this little window above where she slept. There's this tiny little window, and she said she floated up, and then they started to float her out the window, and she kept looking at this window saying she's not going to fit, she's not going to fit, she's not going to fit, that window's too small. And then all of a sudden she woke up and she said she felt herself fall and hit the bed.
Oof.
And she's always thought about that. And ever since she's told me that, I've told you my grandmother really believed in all that stuff. And honestly, they talk about it always going along parental lines. Like, usually abductees, their grandparents will be abducted, their parents will be abducted, they'll be abducted, their kids will be abducted. And, I've always wondered if there's any truth to that. And something else I thought was very interesting is my great-great-grandmother was full-blooded Blackfoot tribe, Native American. And I think she was even a medicine woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was interesting about this is I used to watch a whole lot of that series, Ancient Aliens. And they did a show one time where they were talking about alien abductions and stuff. Well, I mean, that's 90% of what their show's about. But they brought up the Blackfoot tribe and how they had connections to the ancient aliens and stuff. And I was like, holy shit. Could that be really... I was like, and normally the Blackfoot tribe is not one of those tribes that you hear about very often. I've maybe heard about them a dozen times in my lifetime, and most of that was from my grandparents. And that just really freaked me out because I'm like, suddenly, I was like, holy shit, could this really be something that's happened to me? Am I being abducted or not? And I don't, I honestly wish I knew somebody who did regression that was trustful of that. I might actually would do that for the show. That would be very interesting.
Huh.
But anyway, that's just my, I just thought that was interesting. So my mom has had experiences with the same idea of being abducted or sucked through a window and not be able to move, and then all of a sudden just pop awake, but she felt herself fall.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that kind of a topic of the the whole alien thing and sleep paralysis, that kind of goes to my last story. I don't think I've told hardly anybody this, but I think I may have mentioned it to Preston and probably you, Rob. But so when I was younger, I used to stay the night with my grandma, as we all do. Well, not with you, didn't stay with my grandma, but we all stay with our own grandmas.
Nuh-huh, bitch, I stayed with your grandma. Don't even act like that.
I wouldn't blame you. She was a lot of fun. So in my grandma's house, my brother, I would have had to have been about 10 because it was right around the time my brother didn't come with me every single time we went to my grandma's for the weekend. I was, at the point where I was going by myself. And in grandma's house, she had the front door, which oddly enough was the door nobody ever went into. And if you walk in the front door, you could literally walk straight through her house, out the back door into her backyard. But there was also another door in her back room that went out to her driveway. So basically she had two...
Holy shit.
What's that?
Your grandma's back door. Holy
so
shit.
There were two doors in the back room. And so, like I said, you can walk in the front door, walk straight out through the house, out the back door. If you'd walk out the back door, you'd have like the dog pen. And then past that, probably about 30 feet from the house, she had this random like street light that I never did understand. It was like a big, thick like phone pole with a light on it. And so one night, I'm at my grandma's house staying the night, and my grandmother's room was right off of the front room. So basically, you could walk in the front door, hang an immediate right, and go into her bedroom. I'm in the living room, which again is right off the front door. I'm sleeping underneath the ceiling fan. And I remember at Grandma's house, she never had the air conditioner on. In the early part of the summer, she always had the windows open. Okay, so here's the story. So I'm laying there on this air mattress, and I'm underneath the ceiling fan thinking, man, it's really, really warm. I kind of wish she would turn the air conditioner on, but whatever, I'll be okay. And then I seem to notice that all of a sudden, all the sound goes away. I can't hear the crickets. I can't hear the normal noises outside. I can't hear the highway. it's just dead quiet. I can't hear my grandma breathing deep, snoring, whatever. I can't hear the noise from the ceiling fan. This is really strange, but I get the sense that there's something outside. Like, I feel like I'm being watched. And I never had that feeling at my grandma's ever. It was just very comforting, very safe place. And all of a sudden I get really, really scared of the window that's beside me across from my grandma's door. And I keep thinking, oh God, I think there's something out there. I think I'm being watched. This is really weird. And then I look up at the ceiling fan, and all of a sudden I'm frozen. And I can't move. I'm just fucking stiff as a board. And I'm thinking, oh God, not here. Not, of all the places, not at grandma's house. Because I'm worried, like, okay, if there's something outside I can't move, it's going to get my grandma. Well, I got to save my grandma. I got to protect grandma. So then I kind of get this weird feeling like of the air is kind of electrified. It's really strange. It just kind of feels like tingling in the air. So I managed to kind of force myself to look towards my feet out the back door. And I can see the light of that weird street light in her backyard. And all of a sudden it flickers a couple times. And I think to myself, 10 years old, damn it, what the hell's going on? And then in the back of my head, it's like, no. You gotta get out, you gotta get out, you gotta get out. So all of a sudden, I look up at the ceiling fan, I look back down, and there's something looking at me through the back door. Because she had these two curtains that hung on the window of the back door. There's something standing out there. Big eyeballs, big head staring in at me. I look up at the ceiling fan. I look back down. This short, spindly, big-headed, big-eyed thing is now standing in the back room, in the laundry room. And I remember thinking, oh shit. And so I look up at the ceiling fan thinking, okay, go away. You gotta move. Just move your arm. Just sit up. Do something. Yell at your grandma. Do something. I look back down. It's in the kitchen. And then right about this time, I'm thinking, okay, just get up now. It just takes off running towards me like a dead sprint. It hits the bag of, whatever it was, yarn or what have you on the chair, as it runs past, out of the kitchen towards me. It hits the bag starts swinging, it lunges towards me, and right as it's about to get its hands right around my neck, I sit up and I go, ah! And all of a sudden I can move. But I got my eyes closed, because that's what you do when something jumps on you, you close your eyes. So I'm thrashing wildly at the air, my eyes are closed, I'm sitting upright, and probably after, 10 seconds of just like hollering out and scratching at the air, I open my eyes. And there's nothing there, but the bag on the chair is still swinging back and forth like something had hit the bag, causing it to just freaking whip around back and forth violently. Grandma didn't wake up despite how loud I was crying out. But yeah, I have no way to explain what the hell that was. And it scared the living crap out of me. So like we said earlier, you always fall back asleep. I didn't fall back asleep. I sat there under the ceiling fan and just watched the ceiling fan and every freaking noise, every cricket. I stood up and ran to the window, ran to my grandma's room, made sure she was okay, ran to the back door, looked outside, made sure nobody was outside. And it was one of the most...
So this is where your paranoia comes when we play Xbox and you hear every sound on the planet.
Probably. But yeah, and they say that with sleep paralysis, whatever you're thinking, your brain amplifies, by 10. So maybe I looked outside, saw the street light, and thought, oh God, something's outside, something's going to get me. All of a sudden, my brain causes these hypnagogic hallucinations, and then it makes me see something outside. And then, I glance down at the back room and I see something standing there, and all of a sudden my brain maybe just causes me to hallucinate more, and this thing is getting closer and closer, and then all of a sudden it just freaking runs full speed and gets ready to jump and pounce on me, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Yeah, it was, and nothing ever happened like that at my grandma's house after that. I never had the gusto to ask her if she's ever experienced anything out there. I just swallowed it, buried it somewhere, and never talked about it ever until like 10, 15 years later.
Till now.
Yeah, till now.
All right. Whew.
So with the things you can see during sleep paralysis, there's also something else you can see that I think Preston's going to tell us a little bit.
So one of the other things that you can encounter during sleep paralysis is what we call astral spiders or etheric spiders. Over in England, they call them scuddlers. These are a spider-like looking creature. They can range in size from a softball all the way up to a Labrador retriever. And typically when you see them, they're going to be very colorful. You know how, like, if you stare up into a light for too long and then you look away, how you see those flashes of color, like, you know, blues and yellows and reds or whatever. It's basically kind of what these creatures look like. They're kind of glowing, so to speak, with all different sorts of colors. And when you actually look them up, they're basically to be believed to be kind of low-level creatures. So if we think of the universe as being in multiple levels, you have the Earth, which is one plane, and then you have, you know, the astral plane, which is slightly higher. And these little guys are these low-level creatures that live on that, and their job is when you're experiencing sleep paralysis. The reason why you're experiencing that is because they're holding you down or holding you there so that they can suck your aura or get your energy. And it is said that if you're able to astral project that when you turn around and look at your body, you'd be able to see kind of like this glow, your aura, and you would see holes in it, and those holes are due to the astral spider sucking away your energy. Now, some people claim that these things can bite, and when they bite, a lot like Rob's story about having the knife mark the next day, they wake up with these little spider bite marks that they can't explain. I don't know if I buy into all that. And the reason why is every single time that I've seen one of these creatures, where I've woken up and I've been in a paralysis and I can't move, it has been floating above my head and it looks pretty fucking big and I can see it, you know, dropping. And I have a natural fear of spiders. Like, there's something about just having that fucking thing crawl on you that just freaks me the fuck out. But I've never, when I think about sleep paralysis and some of the other shadow encounters that I've had, like, there's just been this immense amount of fear. Like, I'm just freaking the fuck out. Whenever these things happen, I'm just like, oh my God, it's gonna land on my face, it's gonna land on my face, it's gonna crawl on my face. I'm not thinking like, oh my God, this is a horrible thing. The Native Americans talk about dream catchers and, I think what they call it, like a Taurus or a Taurus, and it's the weave. And their legends talk about that the spider goddess taught them how to make these things. And this one person that I found online, after all the research I've done, and everybody's just like, these things are fucking evil, they're bad. This one person proposed the idea, you know, listen, I don't feel anything negative when I see these things, and when I see them, that they have all the different, you know, auras or all the different colors. And that they're weaving something above me, and when I wake up, they just slowly disappear. That maybe that these entities are weaving something above us to help catch the nightmares, to help catch the bad dreams, and that these are just dream catchers. And that's how the Native Americans, you know, got these stories or these tales.
And that would make sense with the reasons that they have the dream catchers that you put in the windows. They're always weaved like, you know, they almost look like spider webs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And Sean, you have a really cool story one time of seeing an astral spider.
I can remember seeing two. The first one, again, wouldn't you guess, I was freaking frozen and couldn't move. I, too, hate spiders. And I was, again, back at Mom and Dad's house. I was younger. I don't know the age on this one. But I remember I was asleep, and then I woke up. And, again, I can't move. I'm freaking frozen. And right above me, I see this weird kind of, like, sparkly string kind of slowly coming out of the ceiling, kind of whirling around. And then it straightens up. And then it kind of blooms out into secondary, like, string. So basically a web. Imagine a spider web. One single web drops down, and all of a sudden anchoring webs kind of hit the wall and the dresser and everything else. And then this sparkling golden spider starts climbing its way down the web really slowly towards me. And he starts spinning the web, making your classic, you know, Charlotte's Web style web. And then as it's crawling around, it meticulously crawls upside down, tidies up the web. And then, I mean, I can't see its eyes, but all of a sudden it's like it notices me. And then it starts lowering itself down off the web. And right about the time it's about to hit me in the face, I finally can move, and I swat it as hard as I can, thinking, you know, good God. And when I hit the spider, I can't feel anything, but it's like I hit a water balloon full of glitter. And glitter just goes, like all over the place and twinkles out of existence. And I remember
Sean was
thinking,
fabulous.
yeah. And I remember thinking,
that's
like,
the gayest spider story I ever heard in my whole time. And it glittered. Poof.
Yeah, it was a damnedest thing, because when I see them, they're the jokes are too easy. They're sparkly. Yeah, and so I just remember thinking, like, what the hell was that? And then I'm on edge the rest of the night thinking, well, are there any more of them? What the hell was that? So the next one, this one's probably my favorite one, and the only other one I'll tell. I was at my wife's parents' house, at my in-laws' house, and this happened in the afternoon. Like, this is in the daytime. I forget, I think I was working and going to school full-time and everything else, and so I was super sleep-deprived. And we were going to have a barbecue, so her parents were outside getting the grill ready, and I was on the couch trying to fall asleep and take a nap. Everybody had kind of left. It was just my wife and I sitting there watching some TV, and she had the TV turned down real low, kind of, trying to help me fall asleep. And I start to fall asleep, and I'm getting a pretty good nap. And all of a sudden, I hear the sliding door open up, and her mom kind of walks in. And so now I'm in that state of I'm asleep, but I can hear everything around me, but I'm trying to ignore it to fall back asleep. And her mom murmurs something, and then my wife says, "Hey, wake up." And I'm trying to ignore her. I'm like, "No, let me sleep a little bit more." She's like, "No, you got to get up. It's time to eat." So then she says, "Get up." And so I say, "Okay." And I open my eyes, and there's this giant, ugly, disgusting, glittery spider.
There's no way to talk about your wife. Oh, it's a spider.
Oh. Yeah, she's going to hear this too, so just you wait. Just think about what you just did,
you're the one
Rob.
describing it. I didn't say that about you, Shayla. He did.
I was talking about a spider. And so this disgusting, ghastly spider is lowering itself down on a web, and it's just about to hit my face. And I'm not frozen at this point, and I scream, "Spider! Spider!" And I start thrashing at the air wildly, trying to kill this freaking spider. And I'm terrified of it. And I look over at her, and she's looking at me like, "What the hell is your problem?" And I'm like, "Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd the spider go? I saw it. Did you see it? It was huge." She's like, "There was no spider."
It's with the fucking gnome, Sean, that you see.
She's just like, "You were asleep, you idiot." And I mean, adrenaline rush, heart's pumping out of my chest, and she's just like, "You're an idiot," and just walks off.
I've been there, buddy. I know how you feel.
That's my other spider.
Well, I think that's probably a pretty good place to end this podcast.
Folks, our hearts are on our sleeves.
A lot of stories about us. People are like, "God, these people are fucking weird." But
the good news is, doctors have already explained it. It's a real thing, and it's just your brain making stuff up. That's all it is. We're not crazy.
except for, when your imagination starts cutting you right down the chest.
Yeah.
Or when you see fucking glitter spiders.
Story. I can't believe I didn't tell you that part of the story, Sean.
Yeah. The hell with that.
So
thanks, but no thanks.
So anyway, let's get our plugs in. So we'll start out with Sean. What do you want to plug, Sean?
Okay, yeah, so one more note on sleep paralysis real quick. If you have Netflix, and if you don't, you're probably the only person, so congratulations. Go look up a documentary called The Nightmare, and it is, I think, like an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute documentary about, I think, 10 different people across the globe sharing their experiences from, childhood to current adulthood, and the way they are plagued with sleep paralysis. And I watched the first half of it a couple days ago and thought, that's kind of a big yawner. It's supposed to be some research for the show, and it turned out to be kind of boring. Today at my lunch, I watched the second half of it, and it was kind of like, holy shit, that happened to me. Holy shit, I've seen that. And it was more or less me just with my jaw on the floor thinking, oh God, this shit's happening to other people, and it's just like what's happened to me. But, yeah, so check out The Nightmare on Netflix, and then email us if you've got stories you would like to share or have us read. Pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. And let me add this. Maybe this could give you guys some motivation. We don't have to read your name, so if you want to send us a story but are worried about being ridiculed and you don't have a podcast to tell your stories on, let us be that vessel, and we will not tell people your name. Just tell us up front, hey, this is so-and-so, please don't say my name, and we will just use your initials or what have you. So please share your stories about sleep paralysis, sexy, non-sexy,
we're ready to believe you.
And on a side note,
right now, that's it.
Patty's
And
mom. Patty's
also,
mom.
we have a voicemail number too, 707-520-4263. That's 707-520-4263. Patty's mom called that last time, and I haven't heard from her again. So maybe she finally,
got the message.
Kicked rocks.
Yeah.
Very good.
Anyway, Preston, what would you like to plug?
If you already haven't gone over to The Lost Cane Paranormal, look us up on Facebook. That's my brothers and I side project where we do paranormal investigations. I think I shared it with you guys in our chat feed tonight, but that one photo is something I caught at a cemetery. And I swear to God that reminds me of a fucking shadow person. And whenever Sean tells that story about the grandmother thing, that's what enters my mind. But just go check it out. Give us a like. See some of the stuff we've done. Rate and review us on iTunes. Pay attention to the Pixelated Paranormal Facebook page because we're going to post some cool videos and stuff on upcoming shows. Like those because I put a lot of time in those and it makes me feel good.
So beg for likes because you spent 10 minutes on the video.
So wait, that second picture you sent, though, let me get this straight. Did you just draw that or something?
Oh, no, I just Google searched Shadow Man, and that's what came up, and I'm just like,
That
oh my
thing was
God.
terrifying. I thought it was like one of the pictures you'd done at first. I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking terrifying.
But that top one there, though, that top one,
Yeah,
that's
I know that one. Yeah, we get that one. I know that looks like your normal stuff. This other one was like, whoa.
Whoa.
So they look too realistic is what I'm saying. Your other one, that one looks real. I mean, it's a really good picture. But at the same time, it still looks like ethereal or, kind of strange. This one looks like, oh, that was deliberate as shit. And I was like, I don't want that to be real. Don't let that be real.
That's what Sean saw. That's what Sean saw. That was the thing that climbed on his chest. It was like, hello, Grandma's boy.
And I want to plug Sports Car Unleashed, the podcast about car racing with our co-host on Pixelated Radio, Rich. And also, I want to plug Pixelated Radio, my video game podcast. And also, apparently last time, I didn't mention it. I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry. So sorry that I didn't mention your Pixelated Sausage Cast. So, I humbly ask for your forgiveness. Please listen to Mark's podcast, Pixelated Sausage Cast, where he talks about a lot of anime, all the video game news that he should talk about on our show, he talks about on his podcast, because he'll forget about it elsewhere, elsewhile, whatever word I'm looking for.
Use
please
your
listen
words.
to that podcast. In fact, you should go to iTunes and rate his podcast a 5 stars and us a 4-star because we're not as worthy as Mark's podcast. Seriously though, listen to Mark's podcast. I want to make sure everybody knows it's Pixelated Sausage Cast. Pixelatedsausage.com is the website. And this podcast probably will not go up till Tuesday. We're trying to figure out a day to just come out, and we every 2 weeks have the show come out on a day and not be a weekend, because I feel by releasing it on the weekend, we probably don't get as big an audience. People forget about it by the time it hits. And I feel like a lot of times during the week, people get these podcasts for their drives to work and stuff like that. So if it's going to be a few days late, that's the reason why. So anyway, adios, everybody. I'm thinking about maybe next episode, I want to do a little bit about the Bilderbergers.
What? Huh?
Bilderbergers?
Bilderberger.
No.
Bilderberger.
What's that?
The Bilderberg Group? The shadow government?
Oh,
No.
I thought you were talking about where you go to make your own hamburger, like
Yeah.
Fuddruckers.
I was getting excited.
I'm gonna
Like,
go build a burger. I mean, that's honestly, I want to go do that, but that's not what I'm. The Bilderberger. Yeah.
so we're going to talk about.
Maybe we'll do that. I don't know.
So we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton and reptilians.
Probably so.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom.
Anyway, that's gonna be it for the show. Everybody, have a good day.